Being a parent living in a non-Muslim society, I am not alone in my quest to raise my kids as good Muslim. Around me, I see Muslim parents developing various coping mechanisms to adapt to their surroundings. There are differences in interpretations of how a Muslim should conduct him or herself in such societies, and how different they should be from followers of the other religions. The real difficulties in child raising surface when children start attending daycare or reach their school years. Many parents are left to their own devices when it comes to dealing with the Halloween, Christmas, or Easter activities that are sometimes heavily embedded into school programs here in the US. Proponents of "they are just kids" school argue that these celebrations have been very much commercialized now and are very secular in nature. There is hardly any hint of religiosity at school and in society in general. They do not find it problematic to let Muslim children go trick-or-treating or sitting on Santa's lap in the shopping mall asking for gifts, singing hymns about Christmas in school chorus as part of year-end celebrations, or giving an egg hunt, going an egg hunt on the Easter day. They point out that these celebrations are mostly about dressing up, receiving and giving gifts, and they are essentially children's stuff. Some other counter this by saying that this attitude ignores the fundamental reasons why these events take place. Reminds that the duty of a Muslim is to be distinguished as a Muslim with his or her conduct and appearance, and question how our children will develop as a Muslim identity if their celebrations are shunned by festivities of other religions. In support of this position, we also frequently hear this hadith that whoever imitates a people is one of them, as reported by Imam Ahmad and in Tirmidhi. So my question to you is, what are the guiding principles we are to follow in light of Quran and Sunnah? How should a Muslim family like mine approach these matters? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to share my views with you. When you were explaining this issue for me and this question, a number of interesting statements and sentences were within this question, which of course I know you drafted in detail in order to initiate this discussion. So I just want to first comment on some of these statements very briefly before trying to answer the question, and then hopefully open up to further questions and answers on this subject or any other subject on religion. So one of the sentences that you said was how different Muslims should be from followers of other religions, or in fact, in what way should they be different from the followers of other religions. It is very good if when we hear these sentences to think about it a bit and try to be accurate. What do we mean by these things? So for instance, Jews also believe in one God. Christians also in principle do believe in one God. Do I want to be different from them in that sense? Of course not. I want to be very similar to them in that sense, because as a Muslim I also believe in one God. This being different that we are talking about, I think in the terminology of the Quran, the only close thing that we can find to it is the expression that says فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, when God says, the Almighty, that every nation had their own ways and their own sharia, then it says فَاسْتَبَقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. So compete with each other. Compete with each other in khairat, in good things. So I think if we try to be different from the followers of religion, this should be the way that we want to be different from them. We should be better than them in being in the path of God. Then there was another sentence: the duty of a Muslim is to be distinguished as a Muslim with his or her conduct and appearance. Again, this is something very interesting, and that relates again to that other thing that brother said, Muslim identity. What is really Muslim identity? Let us think about this. What is exactly Muslim identity? It seems to me that when we say Muslim identity, to some of our brothers and friends, Muslim identity refers to the appearance of a Muslim. So have a long beard, perhaps having a long dress like the dress that are wear in Arabia. Perhaps that is Muslim identity. I wouldn't call that a Muslim identity, because if you go to Malaysia, for instance, the way that they dress is totally different, and it is still, I would say, a very modest dress. If you go to Pakistan, the way that their dress is different from some Arabian countries. If you go to any other Muslim country, they have their own ways of dressing. Even in terms of beard, as you know, we have some fantastic reciters of the Quran that never had a long beard. Abdullah being one of them. So what is really this Muslim identity? And what does it mean to be distinguished and different from others? Is it just about the fashion and the way that we look, or is it something more than that? I believe it is about something more than that. So I try to bring this to a very harsh, realistic example. I would say the way that we Muslims can distinguish ourselves from others, in particular in a non-Muslim country, for instance, could be to be law-obedient citizens. Okay? So if I do not escape tax, if I try to follow the law, if I tell the truth, that is the way that I distinguish myself from others. That I would consider to be my Muslim identity. And then, of course, that is part of being in the path of God. Of course, prayers, fasting, all of that is added to this. But the basis, the foundation is this: being a good human being. Sometimes we talk about Muslim as if Muslim is one thing and then human being is a different thing. This is not the way that I see it. To me, being a good human being means to be a good Muslim. And being a good Muslim means to be a good human being. So I would consider being distinguished from others to be being that good human being. Somebody who everybody looks at him, Muslim or non-Muslim, as a role model. This is what I consider to be being distinguished and Muslim identity. Now, closer to what the question was about, there's another thing I would like to say. There seems to be this mindset and understanding that for everything we need to decide whether it is in the category of halal or haram. And anything that we consider to be not quite what a Muslim should do, we immediately put the label of haram on that. I want to say this is very dangerous. Haram is what Allah, God the Almighty, has announced as haram. It is in the Quran. We do not have any authority to consider anything haram if it is not in the Quran, if it is not mentioned in the Quran. And yes, we have hadith of the Prophet, but as far as I have seen, every hadith of Prophet about haram and halal is simply application of the Quran, expansion of the Quran. This is not volume 1 and volume 2. All of it is together. So I want to say this to you, and I think many Muslim scholars agree with that. To announce something that is permissible haram by mistake is more horrible and terrible than announcing something that is haram halal by mistake. What is the reason? Because if something is haram and by mistake we call it halal, most that is happening is that unintentionally people are doing something wrong, and God is forgiving. God will forgive them if by mistake we do something. But if something is halal and by mistake we call it haram, we are disfiguring the image of religion. Religion that was supposed to be for everybody. A religion that was supposed to make sense. We are making this image a wrong image. That is a terrible thing to do. So my suggestion is that unless somebody can give me a verse of the Quran or a Sahih hadith of the Prophet that says Halloween is haram, let's not talk about halal and haram here. Let's talk about appropriate or inappropriate. This, understanding this, appreciating this, believe me, will solve 80% of the problem. So it is not about halal and haram. It is whether it is appropriate or if it is not appropriate. Yes, if Halloween today was still a pagan ritual, meaning people would intentionally, deliberately do things to celebrate Satan and to celebrate idols and I don't know, pagan things, if this was really what was happening in Halloween, then yeah, it is definitely haram, because we know that shirk is haram. So no question about that. You know and I know, and I think everybody knows, that the Halloween that we see today is simply, it's just a festival. I mean, I don't think even people who attended have any idea what is the roots of this festival. Okay, so we cannot say it is haram. We cannot put it in the category of haram. Then comes the next part. Is it appropriate or is it not appropriate? And that will make the job of you as parents, me as a student of Islam, easier. Because then that means instead of worrying that maybe my kid is going through hellfire, we can just consider, what does hikmah, what does wisdom tells me, okay? Should I allow my kid to participate in this or should I not allow my kid? What would be the consequences of allowing him to participate? What will be the consequences of not allowing him to participate? I will talk more practically about this in a minute. But let me also say another thing. It is very interesting, brothers and sisters, that, for instance, parents are very worried sometimes, okay, that kids, oh, my kid, he wants to attend Christmas party, he wants to attend Halloween, what should we do? This is against Islam, etc., etc. The same parents, the same ones, participate in celebrating Eid al-Milad, the birthday of the Prophet. Now, in my understanding, you cannot say Halloween is bid'ah, because definition of bid'ah, innovation, is when you do something, just act, consider religion. This will become bid'ah if you consider it as part of the corpus of religion that was given to you by God and the Prophet. This will become bid'ah. Halloween is not that. But if celebrating the birthday of the Prophet, I think you can consider it bid'ah, because you are adding something to the body of religion, you consider it to be religious, you label it with rewards, etc. So I, as a father, myself participate in Milad al-Nabi, which is bid'ah, which is following the same mistakes that Ahl al-Kitab had. And then I'm worried about my son, who in a very innocent way, once a year, maybe during 2 or 3 years of his life, when he's very young, just wants to experience Halloween. So I don't see quite a good balance here. We need to come back to our senses and to understand really what is right and what is wrong. So let me now come to a more practical part of this. So, okay, so let's say we agree with what I'm saying. Let's talk about appropriate and inappropriate. So is it appropriate or is it inappropriate? This is where I think every parent needs to decide what is best for his children. I will tell you what I think, but I cannot stress enough to say every parent needs to decide for his own child what is the best thing, okay? You may have a kid that you know that if you tell him, look, you know, I really don't think you should participate in this. Don't say it is haram. You cannot say that. But you can say, I don't think it is appropriate for you to participate in this, you know, the things that they are doing is not very nice, etc., etc. And in a way, the kid respects you and does not participate in these things, and he doesn't mind. He's okay. It could be one, this can be one scenario. The second scenario could be that you say the same thing to your kid. He becomes very disappointed. He considered this to be one of the limitations that his religion is bringing to him, remains in his mind as a bad memory, and become one of the many reasons that later on, when he gets to the age of 20 something, decides to not really follow the religion of Islam, because to him, this is a religion that does not allow you to have fun. I always say to my friends that what is important for me is to make sure that when my kid gets to the age of 40, he's still a good Muslim. That is my objective. Not that whether just now, at the age of 14, he's a good Muslim or not. So all of these things need to be considered. Let me bring this to a bit of more personal level. In Britain, Halloween is not celebrated as intensive as I think in America. Here it is only just one night, and it's not such a big deal. Not many people do it anyway. Around 5 years ago, my son wanted to participate in this. What I told him was that I said, if you want to participate, that's fine, but I personally don't like to be in your place, because I don't like to have scary face and violent images and things like that. I don't find the whole thing attractive, but if you want to participate, that's fine. He participated. He found it very interesting. The year after also he participated. He found it even more interesting. The year after, he did not even mention it. He was past that stage. Did that have any effect on him? No, not so. Nothing. No effect on him. Nothing. And he's now doing other normal things. I'm just thinking, just like an example I gave you, if I had said to him that, nope, you cannot participate, what would have been the effect? This is what my concern is. Now, the thing about Halloween is that unlike some of the other celebrations, now I'm not really expert in these celebrations, so I hope I don't get it wrong, but as far as I understand, for instance, Valentine's Day, it seems to be something nice in terms of having, helping others, showing love to your. Even Christmas seems to be something like a joyful occasion. Halloween, because of the roots that it has, and again I say today, I don't think anyone cares about those roots. The things that are being done, to me, are not in line with the nature of a healthy mindset. As simple as that. This is the way that I put it forward to my kid. This is the way that I will talk about it for my kid. I don't need to spend from my religion for everything. This is the message that I try to deliver tonight. Don't spend from your religion for every detail in terms of educating your kids. Remember that the foundations of our religion are simply what is natural, what is on the basis of morals, what is something that the intellect will accept it. It is on this basis that I think we can share our thoughts with kids, not in order to stop them from going. I would still say leave it to them, but let them know what you think about it. And also let them know that, I mean, it's my suggestion, of course, everybody knows better, but my suggestion is let them know that if they participate in it, you won't be disappointed with them. You will even ask them later how it goes, how it went, and tell me the stories, and let's talk about it. But just to show your understanding, if you share that understanding with me, that by nature it does not seem to be something quite nice to have a scary face, etc., etc. That is one thing to do. The other thing to do is, instead of preventing, I would like to use the word preparing. You see, if we develop a life for our children, in which they consider themselves to be in the path of God, in their own limited capacity as children. If they see their parents that are doing the same thing in the path of God, and if they find the environment of the house to be something as good as a mosque in terms of purity, etc., then we have prepared a nice environment, a nice spiritual environment for our kids. Now, if we prepare that, then I wouldn't worry much about approaching of Halloween, because either my kid decides not to participate in it, he doesn't find himself interested in it, or he will participate, but he's not going to get any sort of effects from that. It's just some sort of socializing for him and nothing more. I'm sure there are going to be many questions, so let me also talk about that hadith that brother mentioned, and then I will hear your questions. So this hadith, unfortunately, people take it out of the context. Let me read the complete hadith for you. If I think I have it somewhere. Yeah. So the complete hadith. See, the part that people narrate and quote is this part. من تشبه بقوم فهو منهم. Whoever makes himself similar to another group, another people, he is one of them. Any person with a bit of interest for research will ask himself, this does not seem to be a complete sentence. This does not seem to be a full statement of the Prophet. There should be something before that, or maybe something after that. There should be a context for this. Then such person will go and research this hadith, and if he does that, then he will find the full context. So this is the full context, as we have it in, for instance, Musnad Ahmad, number 5114. So it says, بُعِثْتُ بَيْنَ يَدَيِ الصَّيَّ بِالسَّيْفِ حَتَّى يُعْبَدُ اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ وَجُعِلَ رِزْقِي تَحْتَ ظِلِّ الرُّمْحِ وَجُعِلَ الذِّلَّةُ وَالصَّغَارُ عَلَى مَنْ خَالَفَ وَمَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. So the translation goes something like this, that I was sent with my sword, meaning to fight people so that they accept and appreciate what they really believe in it, what they are convinced about. That is, there is only one God, and there is no partners with that God. And my blessing is تحت ظل الرمح, is with my spear. وجعل الذلة والصغار على من خالف أمري. So humiliation is with anyone who goes against me. So see, this is the Prophet announcing the fact that as a stage of his mission, he is in the position to go and fight with people, which is mushrikeen, and those Ahl al-Kitab in Arabia who were their enemies and who were rejecting the message of truth, although they knew it was truth. So this is the messenger saying, we are going to fight with these people. It's announcement of war. Then it says, وَمَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. So remember, whoever looks like somebody, he is one of them. One of the issues that was happening during the wars and battles at the time of the Prophet, as the Quran also indirectly refers to it, was the fact that people would fight with each other, either in the battlefield or even individuals fighting with individuals, and sometimes by mistake a Muslim would kill a Muslim. Okay? And what the Prophet seems to be saying here is that if you look like a group, like if you look like your enemies, then you are one of them. So which means that if by mistake people brought object about it, you cannot complain about it because it is your fault that look like one of them. So again, if you look at the context of the hadith, the meaning of hadith will become very clear. So I'm happy to listen to any questions now.